Good morning and welcome to Winter Conference 2022. It is great to have you here today and to have growers across the country at remote locations. This week, we're going to have growers that represent 37 different states, 6 different countries, and I said we're going to have 20 locations across North America where growers come together to learn about the work that we've been doing over the last year, as well as to look for information to improve their operation. We look forward to this day at Precision Planting each and every year. The trials that we run, the yield results that we put together, the products that we develop, this is our opportunity to share with you the things that we've learned. And what a year it's been, right? We finally got the crop prices that we've been praying for the last 8 years. We climbed our way out of the $3 corn canyon. But that's not what the buzz in the industry is right now. The buzz in the industry is input prices, it's input availability, and it's equipment availability. You know, for the last 8 years, we have braced our organizations, braced our farms against low crop prices and low net farm income. But the winds have changed very quickly within the industry, all within the last 6 to 9 months. You know, it reminds me of a joke. It's a dad joke that my dad used to tell as we would go on vacation in the summer. We lived in Missouri, we'd head out west, so we'd be driving across the plains, whether Kansas or Nebraska, Oklahoma, or Texas. And he would tell the exact same joke every year. That's what a good dad joke is, right? He would say, now kids, you know what happens in Kansas if the wind ever stopped blowing? Or even if the wind ever changed directions, you know what would happen in Kansas? Every cow in the state would fall over all at once. Right? As we think about our industry and we think about the winds that have changed very quickly, there's a lot of aspects where that joke is true with our own operation. We need to consider strategy changes as we head into 22. It may be a strategy change with our agronomist. It may be a strategy change with our accountant. It may be a strategy change as we consider equipment ownership on the farm. Our goal today, with myself and all of our presenters, is to help you in that strategy consideration, to share the things that we've learned, to share the yield trials coming off of PTI Farm, off of our research plots, and to announce a few products along the way, to give you that one nugget, that one thought, that one piece of information that you can take home with you today and implement on the farm to improve your operation, to improve your net farm income. You know, I was thinking as I was preparing this presentation, I was thinking back to Winter Conference 2016. Now, for those of you that don't remember, in Winter Conference 2016, we built a 500-gallon water tank right into the stage, and using cannons, we shot water 20 feet into the air to announce the products of FurrowJet and VApply HD, to announce the expansion of the Precision Planting product line into banded fertility on the planter. For 29 years, we had been designing products of seed metering and seed placement, but we announced the expansion of our focus because we wanted to improve the operation. 2016 at Winter Conference, however, was not the beginning of our process. It was not the beginning of our focus on the banded fertilizer on the planter. That process actually started years before as our R&D and our agronomy teams wanted to study and understand the status quo. Why was it that most of the industry put most all of their fertility on in the fall and let it ride across the winter? Why was the status quo that way? What was the equipment that was used? What was the practices that were used? Who were the people that were thinking about this way of applying fertilizer? What could happen when things went well and what could happen when things didn't go well? And so what we did is what we always do. We get our boots dirty. We run our own equipment, we run our own trials because we want to understand the costs and the trade-offs, the benefits of moving that fall fertility out of the fall, bringing it onto the planter and banding it with the seed placement. You know, as we consider a new category or as we consider a new product, As an organization, we look at that opportunity through 3 lenses. The first lens is improved agronomy. The goal of our industry is to take inputs and convert them into grain. And there are 1,000 variables that play into that process. Some of those variables are in our control, and some of those variables are not in our control. And our goal in our research is to understand as many of those variables as possible, understand the important ones, and then design a product that can either sense, monitor, or control that variable to the outcome of improved net farm income. And so the second lens is technology. As engineers, our job is to take technologies that exist in the world and look to uniquely apply them to the situation, to uniquely design a product that can sense or monitor or control the environment or the equipment to maximize the yield potential of the genetics that we paid for. Now, I said the goal of the industry was to convert inputs into grain, and that's not entirely true, because the last lens that we use is increased on-farm economics. At the end of the day, the goal is to convert inputs into grain in a profitable manner. And so as we design a product, as we consider a market segment, the on-farm income of your farm is absolutely under consideration from the first day that we're working on the project. We need to understand the cost of the problem and the cost of the product to solve the problem and make sure that they are in balance in a way that drives income onto the farm. One of the ways that we do that is we have a goal for ourselves that as we design a product, we want that product to pay for itself on your operation in the first year that you own it. Because if that product can improve your operation enough to pay for itself in the first year, from year 2 and on, it's an income earner on the farm. As we think about the last 6 years at Precision Planting in the category of banded fertility on the planter, we have announced 5 products. Products like FurrowJet and Conceal are designed to uniquely place planter fertility banded next to the seed in a way that maximizes the efficiency of your fertility dollar. And it's done in a way that is tightly integrated to the row unit. We're not extending the closing system off of the back of the row unit. We're not hanging something off of the front of the row unit. We're using the row unit envelope. We think about FlowSense and the vApply families, and they provide unprecedented visibility and control of the liquid fertility plan on the planter. I'm pleased today to announce 2 additions to these product lines as we continue our research. The first product is a Precision Planting pump stack. Now, a pump stack is a project that we have thought about for a number of years, we've talked about for a number of years, and really the conversation always centered on, is there a problem with the status quo? If we look at the current offerings in the industry, is there a way to improve the current offerings? Is there a way that if you could make more money or you could save more money by purchasing a pump stack? If that's there, we're excited about the project. If it's not there, we've got plenty of other things to work on. And that's really where the conversation centered over the last couple years. And it was until this summer we were in a conversation as a group in R&D, and it was Corey Deppert. Corey Deppert had that one thought, that one sentence that changed how we viewed the pump stack. Corey Deppert said, for the last 9 years across the globe, growers have been taking hydraulic seeding motors off of their planter and replacing them with electric drive. There must be 1,000, if not tens of thousands, of perfectly good hydraulic seeding motors sitting in sheds and sitting on shelves across the country. There was nothing wrong with that motor when it came off, other than the ability to improve to electric drive meters. What if we allowed the grower to reuse that pump, that motor? What if we allowed him to reuse that perfectly good motor with his liquid pump? That's an idea that can improve net farm income by reusing hardware that you already have. And so that's what we've done. We've designed the Precision Planting pump stack to be a simple plug-and-play system that can be ordered with or without a motor. So if you have a motor on the shelf, you can bring it to the party. As we head into 2022, we are announcing a lineup of hydraulic diaphragm pumps that range in flow rate from 21 gallons to the minute to 49 gallons a minute. And the Precision Planning pump stack has been designed in a way that it is compatible with every liquid controller in the industry. So even if the Precision Planning pump stack is the only or the first precision planning technology that you put on the planter, it will be simple to use and easy to operate. For the last many years, we have talked about the cost of poor visibility into our liquid hardware. That we can be accruing yield loss, we can be accruing economic loss on our planter if we don't have visibility into how the liquid hardware is performing. You know, we look at this picture here, and for most growers, this is the amount of visibility. This is what it looks like out of the back of the planter tractor as we put liquid fertility on with the planter. Now we have 2 tanks, so we're going to fill them evenly because we want them to be balanced. And then across the day, we're going to watch and make sure that they kind of drain down evenly, and we'll feel good if they both run out about the same time. And we may glance back at a set of red balls a couple times a day and make sure they're spinning and make sure they're floating. But what we've seen over the last many years is that the tank method or the set of red balls, they don't give visibility into issues on the hardware that will absolutely accrue economic loss and agronomic loss on the farm. There may be things like a plugged orifice or a partially plugged orifice or something that gets caught in the inlet of the pump or a slightly pinched hose that's going to change the rate at the row or across the planter, and we won't have that visibility to know to stop the planter and fix the problem. And oftentimes it's not for a week later where we see the crop telling us that it's underfed and the damage has already been done. For the last many years, we have offered a product called FlowSense. FlowSense is a flow meter that is installed on each and every row of the planter, and it's going to give us feedback. Through the 2020, we're going to be given an account of every foot, every field, and the entire farm of what the fertility program was that was applied. And if we have an issue on the row or we have an issue on the planter, it's going to tell us that we have a problem so that we can stop and we can maximize our opportunity and we can not have accrued debt, accrued lost yield in our crop. And for many years, growers have been installing FlowSense on their planter, have been finding out that there are issues with their hardware that have been there for years, but with red balls or the tank method, they didn't have the visibility that they needed. Here's an example of a 24-row Kinsey 3600 in South Dakota that's been running 34 gallons of 28 for years with a set of red balls. And for years, the grower has been confident in his fertility program, confident that each seed is getting the exact same amount of fertilizer. He put a set of FlowSense on his planter, and it was the very first field that he saw that he had a problem. This hardware had been the same since he installed it 5 years before. With FlowSense, he realizes there's been a problem for 5 years. He finds out on the first pass of the first field that he has 27% row-to-row variability on his planter. A quarter of his rows are only applying 30 gallons to the acre. A quarter of his rows are applying 40 gallons to the acre. Now, if we think about 27% row-to-row variability on our seeding, what are we going to do if we find out we have 9,000 seed variation on our meters? We're going to stop the planter. There's absolutely an economic loss happening on the farm right now, and we need to stop that. And so as we look at FlowSense, it provides that same visibility to know that we are accruing economic loss with our hardware if it's not performing to its maximum potential. This is a situation, and we've learned in this planter, we've learned in hundreds of other planters, where you learn that where the pump is installed and how the lines are run absolutely affect the ROI of your fertility program. In this instance, the pump was installed on the right wing of the planter, and so the shortest lines out to the rows were on the right wing of the planter. And the longest lines out to the rows were the middle left section of the planter, where it went around the fold points and out to the rows. And so short lines, low resistance, high flow. Long lines, high resistance, high flow. As we come into today, I am pleased to announce EMHD. EMHD is a product that complements FlowSense. It is a valve that can be installed on the row. With the combination of a flow meter and a valve on the row, we now have the ability to control the flow rate of fertilizer on each and every row. That's going to give you the ability to have row-by-row swath, turn compensation, and the ability to execute a variable rate script. The other part that we like about EMHD and EMFlowSense is it gives us the ability to remove orifice plates and orifice tubing from the system. You don't need either one of those as you use EMHD and EMFlowSense. For years, the orifice tubing and the orifice plates have caused issues. As they're small passages, things can get caught in there, causing us to need to stop and fix the system. In fact, EMHD and EMFlowSense, by using an electromagnetic flow meter, there is no small passages through the entire system. So we are much more robust against debris. Anything that's in the liquid is going to work its way through. And we're not talking just about the normal products in the industry. We've actually been working in our research with a number of organic growers that are running fish oil and fish guts and some of the real nasty stuff through these products and have had no issues. You know, as we think about the liquid hardware industry, for years, companies have offered a lot of components, valves and orifices and flow meters and balancing this and on and on. And for years, they've had components, but the burden of architecting a system has fallen to you or your dealer. Someone has had to know your equipment and your fertility program and your rate and your planter speed and then build a liquid system based on that arrangement. And if we ever make a change to the fertility program, oftentimes you have to go back and re-architect the liquid system to now match your new fertility program. With EMHD and EMFlowSense, none of this hardware is required as we look to put the liquid system on the planter. As we designed EMFlowSense and EMHD, it was with three things in mind: simplicity, flexibility, and visibility. We want the system to be simple to order, simple to install, simple to operate, and simple to troubleshoot. Flexibility. The same set of hardware can run the lowest pop-up rates on the planter all the way up to the highest 2x2 rates. So the precision planning system is going to be able to work on the fertility program that you have today, and you're going to use the same hardware as you change your fertility program moving forward. And visibility. As I said, there is absolutely economic loss and yield loss that accrues on our operation if we don't have premium visibility into the liquid hardware to give us the confidence that everything's going well and that we can keep going, and the information to know when something's wrong and we need to stop the planter. With the addition of the precision planning pump stack and EMHD, we continue our research into understanding both the agronomy and the hardware of moving some of that fall fertility dollar out of the fall and into the spring as we put it on the planter. You know, we think about this week. This week, we're going to interact with about 4,000 of the premium farms across the world. And if we think about the fertility programs of those farms, how many different fertility programs are we going to interact with this week? 4,000, right? Every grower has slightly different soil, a different crop, different weather, different yield goal, different budget, different equipment, different agronomists. And all of that leads to slightly different or big differences in the fertility program. There's going to be situations where brothers who farm right across the road from each other have a totally different fertility program for a lot of different reasons. With that understanding, our goal as we have developed technology in this segment is to design it in a way that you can look at your operation and you can look at these products and you can match them in a way that maximizes the return on investment for your fertility program. For some of you, it's one of these products that is going to pay for itself in a year and become an income earner on the second year. For others, it's going to be a family of these products. It's going to be a group of these products that when you add them to the planter, it's going to be the precision planning fertility system, and it's going to maximize the ROI dollar of your fertility program. And with our approach, you don't have to make that decision on one day. From one year to the next, you can add technology to the planter that you already own today. Now you can see from the setup here, we are not going to be talking about planters all day today, am I right? As we think about Winter Conference 2022, it is very similar to Winter Conference 2016. In 2016, we announced the expansion of our product line into on-planter banded fertility. And today at Winter Conference 22, we are announcing the expansion of our product line into the retrofit sprayer technology market. Throughout the day, we're going to be talking about multiple projects that we have been working on that we are looking to bring to market, which improve the economics and the agronomics of operating a sprayer to maximize the herbicide program on the farm. Now, I assure you, our passion continues for the planter. Our passion continues today and into the future for the planter. And today, during sessions, we're also going to be talking about the things that we've learned, the equipment we've run, the things that we've been developing on the planter as we provide yield results from PTI and yield results from our R&D plots. But today isn't the beginning of the story for Precision Planting looking at the sprayer. In fact, over 3 years ago, our R&D and agronomy team started looking at the sprayer pass and herbicide programs to understand the status quo, to understand the equipment that is used, to understand the opportunity of good stewardship and good visibility into the hardware, and to understand the costs when things go poorly. So today is really the culmination of a number of years of research, and it's the beginning of the conversation as we continue to look for opportunities on the sprayer. Now, one of the questions that is a fair question to ask is why the sprayer? Why did Precision Planting 3 years ago start looking at the sprayer? And there's really two answers to that question. The first is the economic impact of the sprayer on the farm. Depending on your operation, it may be up to 25% of the inputs that are applied through the sprayer. You know, we think of a typical corn and bean farmer in the Midwest, there may be 2 or 3 passes in a herbicide program. Think of the cotton crop in the South, there's 5 passes oftentimes. The sugar beet crop up north, it could be 7 passes. And for small grains, it may be 6, 8, sometimes as many as 10 passes in a herbicide program or in a protection program. You know, if you go far enough back in history, almost all of the sprayers used to be owned by large industrial farms or co-ops or custom applicators. But over the last decade, as herbicide programs have become more complex and more expensive, it is becoming more and more common that as you sit down and pencil out the cost of a herbicide program, it's becoming easier and easier to pencil out the purchase of the sprayer. And so more and more growers are adding the sprayer to their fleet as they look to maximize their ROI of turning inputs into grain on the soil that they've been entrusted with. The other side of the coin for us is the agronomy of the sprayer. For years, we have talked about the utmost importance of that planter pass, of how it is that we take what some believe is 850 bushel of genetic yield potential bred into that seed when it's in the bag and delivered to the shed. How do we take that genetic yield potential and retain as much of it as possible as we move from the bag to the soil? And our research and our products have focused on sensing and controlling the equipment that do that and the environment that we're placing the seed into the soil, because we want to retain as much of that yield potential as possible as we set our yield potential heading out into the season. And we talk about the foundation, about the groundwork of our yield potential is even emergence. And we're going to talk about that and continue to talk about it because it is of the utmost importance of setting an ROI, setting whether the numbers are going to be red or black at the end of the year, at the bottom of the P&L. But as we think about the planter and as it sets that yield potential, it is the sprayer that is of the utmost importance of protecting that yield potential across the season, either protecting it from weed or protecting it from pests. We put all the effort into getting the seed into the ground, getting even emergence, and a good operating herbicide program with equipment that we have visibility into and it performs its function will retain that yield potential all the way to the combine head. But where we have lack of visibility, where we have issues, where we need more understanding, is in that sprayer pass to make sure that we maximize that yield protection, or maximize that yield potential. Now, for those of you that have operated a sprayer, have added a sprayer to the farm, you know that there's frustrations. You know that there's a lot of effort that needs to go into operating a sprayer. You don't just decide on one day we're going to pick up a sprayer and add it to the farm. There's tendering. You got to add infrastructure to your operation. You got to add manpower into your operation. And across these herbicide programs, more and more chemicals are starting to show up with the skull and crossbones on them. So we need to be careful as we're handling these chemicals. We also know the stress and the exhaustion of operating a piece of equipment into a standing crop. We put all that effort and all that money into the seed and into the placement of the seed and into the fertility program. And if we're not careful, we could just set ourselves back to zero if we clip off a row or if we run down crop. And there's also more and more chemicals in the herbicide program that are coming that, man, in order to do a good job, it feels like I got to be just a little bit of a chemist and a little bit of an agronomist and a little bit of a meteorologist and a little bit of an equipment operator, and I need a little bit of luck. And if all that lines up, I'm good. But if something goes wrong, even something that I didn't have visibility to, I can end up with a mess on my hands. I can end up with crop damage. I can end up with weed escapes. As we think about operating a sprayer, one of the biggest frustrations is boom priming. As we change fields or as we change chemicals, we need to make sure that we get all the air out of the lines. We need to make sure that all the right chemistry is in the boom all the way out to the tips. So what do? We back the sprayer up in the barnyard, we back the sprayer up in the ditch, and we flip the master switch. It doesn't feel good to prime a boom. Boom priming is a necessary evil of spraying, right? And why doesn't it feel good? One, if it's the first batch of the day, we might be putting 50 or 60 gallons of product onto the ground. I didn't pay to put product into the barnyard. I paid to put product onto the crop, right? And then there's the chemical on the ground, right? That puddle, it may be there for a day or two. It had skull and crossbones on it. I don't want the farm dogs getting into it. I don't want the grandkids getting into it. It doesn't feel good to be priming the boom. But we can't short ourselves. We can't not do it. We have to make sure that that boom is primed, because if we don't get a good prime on the boom, we risk a bigger problem. We risk having air in the lines or the wrong chemistry in the tips. And we go through that first pass and we end up with a weed escape that starts making deposits into the weed bank. We may be fighting this issue for 3 years. We may be fighting it for a generation, depending on what weed it is. The other part of operating a sprayer that is frustrating is boom cleanout. And really, boom cleanout is an issue that is emerging and has emerged over the last few years. For a lot of years, we had the blessing of glyphosate. One product, corn and beans, safe to store, and you could leave it in the sprayer overnight and it wouldn't get hot in the booms. But for a lot of us, those days are gone. We're having to add more targeted, more potent, more chemicals into the herbicide program that can cause a lot of problems if they're misapplied, or cause a lot of problems if they're left in the boom overnight. And so more and more, cleaning out the boom is becoming a big deal. Now, there's plenty of information, plenty of training, plenty of content for us to learn how to clean out the boom, but as you guys know, it takes a half a day, or maybe a day sometimes, to clean out the sprayer. So in the heat of the day, what do? We got to keep the wheels moving. We got to get the acres under. And so we do as much as we can and kind of hope for the best. And you think about some of these chemicals that are being added, you got your atrazines and your halix. I mean, these are thick, gummy, sticky stuff. The cleanout process actually calls for taking the boom end caps off. Depending on the sprayer, there might be 16 to 26 end caps, just extending the time that it takes to clean out the sprayer. But again, on boom cleanout, we can't short ourselves, because if we don't get a good cleanout, we can end up with a mess on our hands. right? I mean, how many people have seen this on the farm? Now, this could be a situation where we didn't get the broadleaf herbicide cleaned out in corn as we went into beans. It could be a situation where we were in beans yesterday and we left the product in the tank overnight in the booms and it got hot. And as it flushed through that first pass, we burned off. But either way, this old boy in the red truck, he's got a mess on his hands, right? We've got crop damage. If we can't get in and replant, we've got fallow ground that we're going to be setting up for a weed bank for the next many years. But that's not even the biggest problem in this old boy's life right here. As he's standing here looking at this crop damage, the biggest problem in his life is that is the road into town. And that is the landlord's house right there in the corner. So for the next year, the name on the plat book is going to be drinking his coffee on the porch, thinking about his decision to have this old boy farm his ground. That is a problem that will affect net farm income on this operation next year if we're not careful, right? So as we think about this operation, there is going to be a change on this operation next year. There is no question. He's standing there next to it thinking, what am I going to do to change? The minimum he's going to do next year, I guarantee you, the minimum he's going to do next year is start in the back of the field, right? That's a change that can be made on the farm that will improve the ROI of this operation. Just start in the back. So that's one nugget you can take with you today. We worked with a grower this last year, Steve Johnson, and he runs an operation in Jackson County, Minnesota, corn and beans, and for years he has been the sprayer operator on the farm. He gave us this picture. He said, this is a picture I took many years ago. It's a situation that I've seen happen pretty often on the farm. As I'm running post beans, I'll come back to the field a couple days later to look, and I'll see this right here. I'll see 30 or 40 feet right out of the beginning of the field of the beans that get nipped. He said, I've never known what caused it. I never quite understood. In some years they'd pull through, and other years they wouldn't. But I'd see it time and again across the farm. I never quite knew what was causing it. Now this last year, Steve added a clay-based Helix GT to his post-corn program. And he knew as he added that clay-based Helix GT, it's sticky stuff. It's thick stuff. It's going to stick to everything inside the sprayer, and it cannot and should not be put on the beans. And so you need to be very careful as you clean that out after your corn and you head into beans. And so he purged the booms, he filled it with rinse aid, he let it sit for the few hours, and then he went through and he triple rinsed the sprayer before he headed into the beans. A week later, he was scouting the beans and he saw all the leaves were curling on his beans. By a week after that, they were smoked. He said there was no coming back for those beans. So he goes back to the sprayer. What happened? I don't understand what happened. He takes the end caps off of his sprayer, and sure enough, there it is. A week and a half later, there's still Helix GT collected in the end caps. So what happened is he did that rinse, he did that triple flush, and then he went out, but he still had Helix GT, and he was putting a lethal dose of Helix GT onto his beans. And the reality is over the last 2 weeks, he's been putting a non-lethal dose of Helix GT onto his beans. But there were 50 acres that were toast. He said, I was able to go back, I was able to replant them. It was early enough in the season, but there was easily a 15 bushel knock from the first plant to the replant of those beans. On Johnson Farms this last year, there was a $9,000 ding because he wasn't able to easily clean out the sprayer. He wasn't able to have visibility as to whether or not that sprayer was ready to go into the beans. He knew there was a problem. He took extra steps to prevent it from happening, but it still happened. It's stories like this, it's experiences that we've had as we've operated our sprayers that has led our teams to develop a product that we are calling Reclaim. Reclaim is a system that can be added to the sprayer that you have today that will allow you to prime the booms without spraying product on the ground. It will give you feedback in the cab that the booms have been primed. It gives you the confidence that we have the chemistry all the way out to the tips. And it eliminates the dead volumes on the sprayer, so it makes the clean-out process much more effective and much more efficient. In addition, Reclaim will be compatible with almost every sprayer that's been built in the last 25 years, both the pull types as well as the self-propelled. It'll be compatible with electric nozzles as well as mechanical nozzles. And the best part is that the only technology that you add to the cab of your sprayer is one single rocker switch. So as we think about Reclaim, I want to give you guys a demonstration. I want to show you a video of what it looks like to operate Reclaim inside of the cab. So as we install Reclaim, we're going to take all of the end caps off of the boom sections and we're going to plumb them back together and bring them back to the tank. So our liquid system is going to go from the tank to the booms and then back to the tank. As we come into the field and as we're preparing the field, we're preparing to get ready to go into the field, we're going to turn the Reclaim system on. And where that bottom light is going to turn on, showing us that we're active. We're going to turn our pump on and we're going to open our section valves. And now product is going to be flowing from the tank, through the pump, through the section valves, out to the boom, and then back to the tank. Product is not going out onto the ground. We're priming the boom without any product going onto the ground. Now, when we get confirmation that that has completed, when we get confirmation that the boom is primed, the top light is going to turn on, telling us that our boom is primed. We now know that all the right chemistry is out to the boom. Now, when we get ready to spray, we're going to turn the Reclaim system off, and off we go. At that point, with the Reclaim system off, all other switches, all other valves, all other controls are exactly the same in your sprayer as they have always been. It's a system that you use at the beginning of the field, and it rides along for the rest of the day. I also want to show you guys what it looks like to operate Reclaim outside of the sprayer. So what we've done here is we've taken a 13-year-old John Deere 4730 and we've outfitted it with Reclaim. And then we've taken a brand new Deere R4030 right out of the factory and we've set it right next to it. Both of these sprayers are coming from a clean rinse, so their booms are full of rinse aid and water. We added water to the tank and then we filled it with blue dye. So each sprayer has blue water in the tank and nothing in the booms. Now, as the 4730 with Reclaim pulls into the field, he's going to activate his Reclaim system and he's going to start working product out from the tank to the booms, never spraying, and back to the tank. So when he's ready to go, he's going to flip the switch and he's off. He had evenly distributed chemistry across his entire boom from the moment he said go. Now the 4030 is going to go through a more typical priming process. As we get ready, we're going to flip the switch, and now that blue water is going to work its way from the tank out to the section valves, out to the boom, and then slowly work its way down the boom from the center out to the tips. In total, we're going to pump maybe 50 or 60 gallons of chemistry onto the ground as that product works its way out to the tips. And once we see the product get out to the tips, we now know that we have chemistry in the entire sprayer and we can go. And so that's what we're going to do here. Almost there. There we go. We're ready to go. This coming spring, we're going to be working with growers across the country, across multiple manufacturers to continue to test and to understand the installation of Reclaim. I'm excited about this project, and I do expect a commercial announcement of Reclaim in the back half of this year as we come out of our testing season this spring. One of the other frustrations of operating a sprayer on the farm is running equipment through a standing crop. It is a stressful experience. It's an exhausting experience. Over the years, we've collected quotes from our friends, from growers we've worked with, from the old guy at church that runs the sprayer on his operation, from our employees, of just how frustrating it is to run a piece of equipment. There's guys that have said, man, during spraying season, my arms and my mind are so tired, I do not want to see any more steering wheels. I asked my wife to drive the family everywhere. I just need to sit in the passenger seat and rest. I do not want to touch another steering wheel. There's other guys that in their younger days, they worked as a custom applicator and they said, man, that is a young man's game. day after day, all day long, spraying. I would get out of the cab at the end of the day and just fall out of the cab from exhaustion. And there's even guys that we've talked to that said, man, I got a farmhand on the operation. He refuses to get into the sprayer cab. Refuses, won't do it because of the butt chewing that he gets over the walkie-talkie from the combine operator as they're harvesting of all the crop that he's run over. So he'd rather just stay out of the whole mess. We wanted to dig into this. We wanted to understand this. And so what we did, we actually have a number of employees at R&D that spray on their own family operation or have been custom operators in the past. And so we wanted to understand just exactly, let's understand this frustration. So Jesse Fair and Andrew Bear were both good sports. They've been custom operators in the past, and we said, hey, we'd like to collect some information. And you get a free hat. Now, who in agriculture is going to turn down a free hat, right? We didn't give them the whole story. It's a dumb hat. It's a stupid hat. It's got a GoPro on top of it. And so Jesse and Andrew, they wore this hat all year long as they ran our research sprayers across our research fields. So I want to give you guys a glimpse. This is Andrew Bear running one of our research sprayers across a research field. Now, this field is a flat, square, straight pass field. But you can see very quickly that hand driving a sprayer through a straight pass is not only a neck workout, but it's also an arm workout. He's fighting this sprayer all day long to keep it in a straight line down the pass. And why is that? It's because as that sprayer comes through, there are soil dynamics at play under the tires. Depending on the soil type, the soil condition, that soil is moving and flexing that is pushing the sprayer off of its line. And so you are constantly, all day, working that sprayer back to the center of the pass. And at sprayer speeds, if we get off the center and we get into the row, we're going to run down 100 plants a second. We paid for 100 seeds. We paid for our fertility program. We set the yield opportunity. And because I got to fight this dog down the pass, I'm going to wipe it all out. One of the things we also did is we put sensors on the sprayer so that we could understand how that sprayer works its way through the field. And we looked at that data across the entire season. Now if we think of a sprayer, it's going to have 15-inch wide tires. It's on a 30-inch pass. So if that sprayer tire is right in the center of the pass, we're going to have 7.5 inches of margin between the rubber and the crop, if we can stay right on the center of the pass. Now here's a plot of the path of the tire down the pass on a quarter-mile pass of the field. For this field, hand-driven by a custom applicator, the average was that the sprayer was off the center of the line by 5 inches, on average. Not too bad, right? If Elon Musk could stay within 5 inches, he'd be twice as rich as he is today, right? But we only had 7.5 to play with. We're only left with, on average, 2.5 inches of margin between the tire and the crop. As we looked at this farm and as we looked at multiple farms, 17% of the time the sprayer is either into the row or onto the row, running the risk of running over crop. We also worked with a grower, Fred Menold. Him and his brother Michael and their 3 sons, they operate a corn and bean and pumpkin farm here in central Illinois. And for a number of years, Fred has been the operator, been the sprayer operator on the farm. And he's been frustrated with the stress and the exhaustion of running that sprayer through standing crop, of the frustration of seeing crop run over. And so a number of years ago, Fred said, I'm going to use technology to solve this problem. I'm going to add technology to the farm, and we're going to solve this problem. And so he went whole hog. He was very careful, and he put his AB lines down very, very carefully. And then he carefully transferred those AB lines over to his sprayer. And he paid for RTK on both the planter pass as well as the sprayer pass. He even went to the planter where the tire tracks were going to be, and he took the rows in the planter and he widened them. He wanted to give himself a wider runway with that sprayer. So he goes out to the field and he runs, didn't solve the problem. He's still constantly nudging his offsets. He's constantly futzing with the GPS. It was no less effort, it was no less frustration by adding this technology to his farm. He said, man, there's nothing more frustrating than adding technology to get rid of a problem and you end up with just a totally different problem, right? He showed us these pictures, and this was his experience as he brought RTK onto the farm with the sprayer pass. There were instances where he was mowing down an entire row. He never did that when he was hand driving. So Fred wanted to dig in and understand what was the cause? What was the issue? Clearly something's not operating the right way. As he dug into it, the root cause was side slopes on the farm. We're not talking about big steep hills. We're talking about subtle slopes from left to right on the pass. And what was happening is that planter tractor is going to be glued to the AB line, but the planter behind the tractor may be shifting downhill. We're not talking a lot. It might be 3, 5, 7 inches. Almost imperceptible to the eye, but also imperceptible to the sprayer with that AB line in the computer that's going to put it on the exact same row, the exact same line that the planter tractor was on. So if the crop was shifted by 7 inches and we only have a 7-inch gap of margin between the tire and the crop, what do? We mow down an entire row. The other thing that Fred discovered is on these side slopes, there would be situations with a soft underfoot condition where, as you guys know, a sprayer, it's heavy, and it's heavy in the back. And so he would get in situations where the sprayer would start to dog track on that hill. Again, not much. We're talking 5 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches, not a lot, but that back tire would slide downhill ever so slightly. So he's not setting a path now. He's not setting a tire track that's 15 inches for the sprayer. He's got 15 inches on the front, and then he's adding 6 or 7 inches from the back as it's not running in the shadow of the front. So now he's setting a tire track of 22, 23, 24 inches. But we're burning up all of our margin. All 7.5 inches that we have between tire and crop, we're burning it up. It's stories like this, it's experiences that we've had that have led us to the development of the Precision Planting Vision Module. The Vision Module is a custom-built, ground-up design which brings the power of vision technology into the 2020. In 2007, as we brought the 2020 to market, it was done with a passion to give the grower visibility in the cab that he would not otherwise have, to give him insights and information and sight lines into his equipment and into his crop and into his soil that he had never had before. That's why it's called the 2020. Not because we were going to have a pandemic then, but it was because of clear vision. With the Vision Module, we are bringing the power of the 2020 into the sprayer cab. Today, in this session and across the breakout sessions, we will be talking about a number of projects that we have been working on over the last number of years that will bring information to the fingertips of you in the sprayer cab using the Vision Module. We're going to discuss one of them here in this session, and then Tristan and Jason throughout the breakout sessions will be talking about other projects that will use this Vision Module. The first project that we've been working on is camera-based row guidance. You know, as we think about mounting a camera above the tire on the sprayer, we now have visibility into the crop and the sprayer in the foot of your field that we're in. We're not talking about an AB line in a computer somewhere. We're talking about the exact situation that we're in right now and adjusting the equipment to stay out of the investment, right? To bring a maximum benefit to the investment, not to wipe it out. So here's an example of what the camera sees as it's mounted above the tire. And you can see that there are green boxes which are going to be highlighting the crop. In this instance, the corn was about a V2 or a V3 stage. The blue line is the center of the row. That is the target line. That's the line we want to stay on to give ourselves the maximum margin between the tire and the crop. The white line is the line, the path that the sprayer is on currently. So whether the soil is moving under the tire and it's moving the sprayer off the center of the line, the white line is where the sprayer is headed. So we're going to be constantly adjusting the steering of the sprayer to keep the white line on top of the blue line. This past spring, one of the growers that we worked with as for vision-based row guidance was Fred Menold. As he said, he still wants to solve this problem. He still has frustration running a sprayer through standing crop. And so we worked with him on camera-based row guidance with the 2020, and his experience was very good. He had a much better experience this spring running a piece of equipment through a standing crop. He sent us this picture here. Fred doesn't exactly get tickled, but he was pretty excited about this picture right here. In this picture here, you can see there's a side slope, and you can actually see that his sprayer was dog tracking. The green line is the front tire track, and the orange line is the rear tire track. So Fred is setting down a tire track between 23 and 25 inches wide, but because the front tire is centered on the line, he's not getting the rear tire into his investment. He's not getting the rear tire into the crop. Another thing we did as we were working on camera-based row guidance is we asked Jesse and Andrew to put their hat back on. Go out and operate a sprayer in a standing crop using vision-based camera row guidance. So here's what we can see the experience is running a sprayer when the sprayer knows where it's at in the field and knows to stay out of the crop. Not an A-B line in the computer, but this crop, this foot. You can see very quickly, you've got time. You've got time to check the monitor. You've got time to pull out your calculator and figure out how many acres are left in the tank. You got time to talk to your R&D buddy in the passenger seat, good old Tristan Herman. Right? We're not spending all of our effort just keeping the sprayer out of the crop. We actually have time to think about and look at the agronomic things that we're doing in the field. To use our energy and our visibility to actually make sure that what's coming out of the boom is doing the right thing. This coming spring, we're going to be testing across the country, across multiple sprayers, to continue to develop this project. And we're also going to be expanding our product and our testing to include other post passes, like side dress bars or like cultivators. You know, you think about a side dress bar, if you're off the row with a sprayer, you just take out the one row that the tire hits. If you're off the row with a 2x2 cultivator, what do? You take them all out. You could knife 16 rows off if you're not careful. Just like in 2016, Winter Conference was a big day in the history of precision planting as we expanded our product line into on-planter fertility. Today, similarly, is a big day as we take our focus, as we take our lens, and we expand our view into the sprayer pass, considering the agronomy, the technology, but most importantly, your on-farm income. We're going to be announcing a number of products throughout the day, as I said, but I'm excited about these products. I'm also very excited about the next 6 years. As we continue this research, as we continue our understanding, we will be bringing products to market focused on your net farm income. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your attention. Thank you for coming. I'm so excited to have you back. It is awesome to be back. Taryn Johnson's going to come up and she's going to share some of the logistics of the rest of the day. I'm going to be around. Come up, shake my hand, fist bump, whatever works for you, and let's talk about what we're working on. I'm excited about the rest of the day as we talk about our planter pass and expanding into the sprayer pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Exciting times at Precision Planting for sure. Good morning and welcome to Winter Conference 2022. My name is Taryn Johnson. I'm the events manager here at Precision Planting. And on behalf of the entire team, we are so excited to have you join us today. We've got a great day planned, and we hope you're just excited as we are. Throughout the day, you'll hear a lot about improving and getting better. And here at Precision Planting, that is exactly what we strive for. We believe in better. No matter what 20 remote locations you are joining us at today, there are two groups of individuals that I want to introduce to you that can help you do just that. The first is our team of dealers in the black shirts. Will you please stand? Yeah, give them a round of applause. These folks are our Precision Planting Premier Dealers. They are here to answer any questions that you might have and enjoy helping farmers like yourself perform at their best. Next, I'd like to introduce the team in the white shirts. These are the employees of Precision Planting. Our entire team is involved putting on this event, so be sure to ask them any questions, or if you need anything, they're here to help you. At this time, I want to go over the connection card that you received. If you're sitting in a session today and have any questions, you can text Precision to the number on the screen to start chatting with one of our team members. On the back of that card is ways that you can stay connected after today, through signing up through future programs, events. Also, you can scan that QR code to sign up for your free emergence flagging kit. If you're a certified crop advisor, this event is credited for 6 continuing education credits. Be sure to sign up at the entrance near check-in. Justin's session was great, but we're just getting started. We have 5 more sessions planned for you today. You'll hear more about our future sprayer projects, learn how to get your plant to perform at its top potential, and hear from our team on the lessons and research we're learning in the field. For those of you joining us at a remote location, I'm going to turn it over to your event host to go over the venue logistics at your location. For those of you here in Tremont, I'll go over those with you now.